You're sitting in a lawyer's office on the 42nd floor of a building you've never entered before, and the man across the desk has just slid a single sheet of paper toward you. The letterhead is in a language you don't recognize. The number on the page has 11 figures before the decimal point. And the lawyer, grey suit, no smile, fingernails too clean, is watching your face to see if you understand what you're looking at. You don't. Not yet. Your mouth goes dry. You hear the soft hum of the air conditioning, the distant honk of traffic below, and your own pulse hammering in your ears. 11 figures. That's not a typo. That's not a prank. That's a fortune older than the country you were born in. 2 days ago, you were nobody. You were the person checking their bank balance before buying groceries. The person who felt a little flutter of dread every time the rent reminder pinged. $41 and some change. That was your reality on Tuesday. The amount that decides whether you get the name brand pasta or the store brand. And now it's Thursday, and a stranger flew in from Geneva to tell you that everything you thought you knew about where you came from was a curated lie. Let me back up, because you're feeling exactly what I felt. The vertigo, the certainty that someone's about to laugh and say none of it is real. So let me show you how this actually unfolds, level by level, because the money is the smallest part of what's about to change. Stay with me, because the moment you understand the mechanics, you'll never look at the world the same way again. It started with a phone call you almost ignored. An unknown number, foreign code. You picked up because you were bored, and a calm voice asked for you by your full legal name. The long version, the one nobody uses, the middle names your mother gave you that you've always been faintly embarrassed by. That detail is the first thing that gets you. Strangers don't know your full name. Strangers don't pronounce it correctly. This one did. The voice told you there had been a death. Not someone you knew, someone you'd never heard of, a name that meant nothing. And then, the voice said something that rearranged the furniture in your skull. You are the last direct descendant. The succession passes to you, and only to you. You laughed. Of course you laughed. You assumed it was a scam, the kind that ends with you wiring your savings to a prince. But scammers ask for money. This voice was offering to send a car. So now here you are, in the office, and the lawyer explains the first rule of the world you've just entered. The fortune was never hidden because it was stolen. It was hidden because visibility is a liability. He says it flatly, like a man reciting a grocery list. Old money, real old money, the kind that survives wars and revolutions and currency collapses, does not appear on any list of billionaires. It does not get profiled in magazines. It does not own yachts with its name painted on the side. It exists in structures. Trusts within foundations, within holding companies registered in places you can't find on a map. The name on the door is never the name of the person who controls it. That, he tells you, is the entire point. Wealth that can be seen can be taxed, sued, frozen, or taken. Wealth that cannot be seen simply persists. For generations, for centuries. And you, somehow, are the only living person with the bloodline to claim it. He hands you a leather folder. Inside is a card. Matte black, no numbers, no name, just a thin embossed crest you've never seen before. He explains that this is not a credit card. It is a key. Certain doors, certain accounts, certain rooms in certain cities will open for the person holding it, because the people behind those doors have been waiting your entire life for someone to present it. You run your thumb over the raised crest. It's cool. It's heavier than a normal card. And something about its weight makes the 11 figures feel suddenly, terrifyingly real. The first thing you have to do, the lawyer says, is verify your identity. Not with a passport, but with your blood. There's a clinic on the floor below. A genetic match against records that go back further than you want to think about. You sit in a white chair, a nurse takes a vial of your blood, and you wait 40 minutes that feel like 40 years. You think about your mother, who raised you in a small apartment, who worked 2 jobs, who never once hinted that any of this existed. Did she know? Was she protecting you? Or hiding from it herself? The questions stack up faster than you can answer them. The nurse returns. She doesn't speak. She simply nods to the lawyer, and the lawyer stands, buttons his jacket, and for the first time, he smiles. "Welcome," he says. "Now I can show you what you actually own." He gestures toward an elevator at the back of the office, a private one, no buttons, just a slot. He takes the black card from your hand, slides it in, and the doors close around the two of you. The elevator begins to descend, not up, down, below the building. And as the numbers on the small screen count past floors that shouldn't exist, he begins to explain the second level the accounts. The elevator stops at a level the building's directory swears doesn't exist. The doors open onto a corridor of pale stone, lit so softly the light seems to come from nowhere. There are no signs, no security guards you can see, though you understand somehow that you are being watched by people very good at not being seen. At the end of the corridor is a door without a handle. The lawyer presses his palm flat against the wall beside it. The black card is fed into a slot. and the door exhales open like it's been holding its breath since before you were born. Inside is not a vault full of gold. That's the first thing that surprises you. You expected gold. Instead, there's a single long table, a row of screens, and a man at the far end who rises when you enter. He's older, soft-spoken, the kind of person who has spent his whole life being trusted with things he can never repeat. He is the custodian, not an employee, a position passed down, like yours, across generations. He has served 3 before you. He says this the way other people say they've had the same job for a few years. He explains the second rule, and it's the one that finally makes your knees feel uncertain. The money is not in one place because nothing important is ever in one place. It is layered. There are liquid accounts you can touch tomorrow. Enough, he says delicately, that you will never again think about a price tag for the rest of your life. But that's the shallow water. Beneath it sits real estate held under names of foundations that own other foundations, holdings in companies whose products you've used your entire life without knowing who owned them, art that has never hung on a public wall, vaults in 3 cities, mineral rights, shipping interests, a private bank that exists only to serve a handful of families, of which yours is one. He turns a screen toward you and lets you see a single page of the ledger. You stop reading after the 4th line because your brain refuses to hold the numbers in order anymore. And here's the part nobody warns you about. With each 0, the loneliness gets heavier, because the custodian's next sentence is this: from this moment, you will never know if anyone likes you for you. Every friend, every lover, every smiling stranger who learns even a fraction of the truth becomes a question you can't fully answer. That, he says, is the real tax on this kind of wealth. Not money. Trust. They move you carefully into the next level, the invisible power. You learn that the fortune doesn't just sit, it does things. A phone call from the right person, in the right tone, can move a decision in a boardroom you'll never sit in a city you'll never visit. You don't give orders. You express preferences, and somehow the world rearranges itself around them. The first time it happens by accident, you mention, idly, that you've always loved a small failing bookshop near the apartment where you grew up. 3 weeks later, it's quietly bought, its debts cleared, the owner told an anonymous patron believes in him. You never asked. You only wished out loud. And that, you realize with a chill, is the most dangerous power of all, the kind that acts on your half-formed wants before you've decided you mean them. Then come the people, the inner circle. You're brought to a dinner in a house with no address, where the others at the table represent names you'd half recognize and names you've never heard, which they prefer. They study you the way the lawyer did, watching for whether you understand. They speak in a kind of shorthand, the language of people who've never had to explain themselves. They are polite. They are warm, even. And every single one of them is measuring whether you'll be an asset to the structure or a liability who talks too much. You realize you're being interviewed for membership in something you already technically own. And it's there, between the second course and the third, that the real choice arrives. The oldest man at the table leans toward you and asks gently what you intend to do with all of it. Not as small talk, as the only question that matters. Because every heir before you made the same decision, and the structure remembers each one. You can disappear into it, become another invisible name keeping the machine alive for the next ghost. Or you can spend a piece of the invisible to make something visible. You think of your mother and her 2 jobs. You think of $41 on a Tuesday. You think of every person who's ever felt that flutter of dread before checking a balance. So you go back up, past the floors that don't exist, out into the ordinary daylight, the honking traffic, the world that has no idea what just walked through it. The black card sits in your pocket, cool and heavy against your thigh. You can feel its weight with every step, and you understand now that the weight was never the money. It was the choice. 11 figures, generations of silence, and the whole impossible thing waiting to become whatever you decide it is. You stop on the sidewalk, you take out your phone, and you start, quietly, to spend the shadows on a little light. Because the fortune was hidden for centuries, but nobody ever said it had to stay that way.